All right, so we're gonna get started now. First, I want to thank you taking your time out of this, lovely Wednesday to learn about visual cues, right? And what today's session, we're calling the power of visual cues and instructor-led and virtual instructor-led training. And we're gonna dive into the concept of why we should be using visual cues, what they are, and how they can make your instructor-led and your virtual instructor-led training a lot simpler and a lot more consistent in actions and leading it. So, my name is Pat Michaels. I'm the Chief Learning Architect or Chief Learning Mechanic of here at Great Circle Learning. It's a title I give myself because it's about, to me it's important. How do we go about building out in the structure in which we do training, those processes? So being able to lay it out, it's the mechanics. But so for today, we're going to dive into into some ideas here on the agenda. We're going to be looking at what is a visual cue. We're going to see it in action, and then also we're going to look at some best practices and what tool that we can offer here at Great Circle Learning to make this a lot easier for you. So with that being said, let's just kind of get into it. I really want to keep these to about 20 minutes. So what is a visual cue? What do I mean by that? And so I want everyone to put on your imagination hat, right? At this moment, let's say we're driving in a car, right? We're driving down a road and you're sitting there, you're talking with the person in the seat next to you. Maybe we're going to start playing some music, right? You turn up the music or you're changing the channel, things like that. And then, amazingly enough, all at the same time, we see a red octagonal sign coming up. So what do? Right? We are, in the matter of a moment, able to still continue our conversation like we're having right now. We can maybe turn off or change the music, finish changing the channel, or turn it off, turn it up, whatever that is, and still stop. Because our brains understand from consistency that red octagonal sign, regardless of what country we're in and what words are across the middle of it, that means stop. Our brains can process images in a different place than we can process words. So the more we can harness that idea and bring that into our training, we're going to be able to provide more consistent training, and our facilitators are going to be able to be in front of the camera, in front of the class, and less buried in their books. So, just to kind of show some other points, here are a few other, road signs that we know at a glance, right? We've got stop, we have do not enter, right? Somebody's, pedestrian crossing. Here's your parking lot. There's a parking lot over here, and you're probably going to have to pay your firstborn child, if you're parking in Boston at the rates they're going now, right? Or slippery when wet. It's also a great, the last one with the car swerving, that slippery when wet. It's also a great 1986 album from Bon Jovi. But in this case, it's about driving. So that's the idea of visual cues, right? Using some sort of symbol or icon that we consistently using as a way to drive action, right? So this is a great point to kind of talk about, why are we using visual cues and why do we put these into action? And so one of the first things I would say, right, we want our facilitator guides they should be at a glance, right? The more we provide long strings of text without things being broken up, again, we have a better chance of our facilitators reading the material, right? Being face first in it. Our president loves to talk about a facilitator guide should be like sheet music, right? So picture the orchestra, right? We're at the Boston Symphony Orchestra or whatever your favorite orchestral group is. These people have been playing music for in some cases decades, and they're in some cases probably playing the same song. But as they're going through William Tell's Overture, right, they're still turning the page, even though it's probably the 500th time they've played it, right? We should be able to glance down and pick ourselves up if we get off track, and visual cues are going to help us do that. So let's look at this, at a sample of this, right? So here is, here's a sample of a page out of a facilitator guide that has no visual cues. So imagine you having to go and lead this course, right? And there's other things I would talk about this on why, other things that you should be doing to make this a more effective facilitator guide. But in terms of the idea of it being at a glance, right? Being able to get down, get the information, and provide it out to your learners, that's why we're going to look at this today. So would you rather teach from this? Or if we go the eyeglass method, do you like this or this? Which one would be easier as a facilitator to consistently execute? To always know what you're doing, right? One of the reasons why we have facilitator guides is that our facilitators, our everyday facilitator may be out sick, or they've gotten promoted, or they left the organization, and someone else has to step in and lead the course. Is that easier for the person who's doing it for the first time and maybe's run through it once or twice? Or is this going to be simpler? Right? So again, what are we trying to do? We want our facilitators to be able to quickly provide information that is, getting the information across to the learners, but then still engaging with them, in front of the camera, in front of the class, and it's a lot easier to do it consistently. And now we get consistent training in Boston or in Florida or in Arizona, because everyone's on the same page and everyone is consistently using the same type of stuff. So visual cues breaks up information so that we can easily present the information. Anybody have any questions on this so far? All right. So how do we go about doing this, right? What are our best practices for doing it? So we're going to jump over, to my Word screen. And so we're in here at, looking at, a sample Word document. Now, my suggestion is to use our program LeaderGuide Pro to make this easier. All right. For many reasons. One, we're going to cut down your time to build. But it's also, you can consistently set up a structure that's going to be repeatable. Think of it, instead of having a single template, we use a whole series, but now we can share those templates out, or that collection, which is a series of templates, out to all of our users. And then we have the LeaderGuide Pro ribbon, which is going to allow us to easily make things repeatable. So let's look at, if we went back, and I'm going to quickly pop back over here to this sample. So we use tables to lay things out so it's easy for formatting, right? About 50% of your time building training materials is going to be on non-training materials information, like where do I put something on a page, what font, what size, what color, all of those type of things. And so the more we can automate these things out, the easier life's going to be when it comes to building things. So if I flip back over to here, right? Let's say I want to start building out that structure, right? I can get up into the content blocks and think of content blocks like say this, do this, ask this. And I can just start putting in, I choose the content block and it would go in. And so we use, our first column is always there to drive actions, right? We're getting visual, whatever the content block that you're using, the more consistently we use it for the same type of information, the easier it is to get it over to the idea of the stop sign, right? You see, when your user sees it or your facilitator sees it, they know the actions they have to do. So we're driving actions using that first, using the column 1 icon. And we have, all the different content blocks, right? So maybe we want to be saying something. Right? We can quickly put that in by using LeaderGuide Pro. These individual templates that are tied up into a collection can be shared between all your different users. But now we've got a visual cue, but then we're going to also want to, we want to tie that to some sort of headline. So in this, like if we're looking at the second one, which is the say block, maybe I want to put in a headline like say something like. So at a glance, as a facilitator, I see that icon and I know I'm supposed to, I have to say something. And then still one quick glance, I see say something like right next to it. All right, whatever else is underneath this, I have to get it across in general. Right? So let's say I was to put in information, right? I can layer this in and maybe I can then, here I'm going to unzoom real quick so I can get to some of my other features. But I could break this up and I could quickly get this across where someone's they have their visual cue. I'm going to be saying something. Headline, I'm getting this, say something like, and then the information's written out in a clear and concise manner. So I'm able to drive actions off these visual cues. Where, let's say I'm going to put in another say block just underneath this. In this case, let's use a different headline of say exactly. And then, so this is the exact same text as above, but because it's written out with, I'm driving this action, at a glance, I know I'm saying something, I glance at my headline, I'm saying exactly, so whatever's underneath that, I have to get across verbatim, right? And so maybe this is the Miranda rights, right? Or it's a regulation, or something that, compliance reasons we have to say specifically. This allows, again, looking down, getting it, I know exactly what I need to do. It's my sheet music, and I can execute that action and then be right back on to the next item. So I would, set up a document. If you're not using LeaderGuide Pro, which I strongly recommend everyone do, but if you're not, get your visual cues over on the left-hand side. Tie visual cues to some sort of headline, and then depending on what that is, as much as possible, make the information as, at a glance friendly as possible, right? So if we give someone, and we'll come back to this example here, right? If we give someone full lines of text, guess what they're going to do? They're going to read full lines of text, or there's less flow to the whole program, and it's going to seem choppy and things like that. Where if we can break that information up into more easily to be delivered information, right? Getting stuff into shorter sentences, numbered lists, or bulleted lists. Again, it just makes it your eyes able to process it a lot easier. And obviously on this, I've got my formatting turned on, so if I was to turn this off so you saw it without formatting, right? You can quickly see what it would look like. What I would also do, and I've got an example here, on this, here is, I would take a look at all the different actions that your facilitators may be doing or needing to do, or you may want them to do, and come up with some sort of, within a LeaderGuide Pro document, we call it the graphics cues page. Think of it like a map legend. These are all different items that your facilitator could see in the guidebook and what they mean. So not only are we giving them, in a guidebook, here's an icon, do this action. The icon, each icon, we call them content block, is specific to a specific action we want them to be doing. Well, especially as you're getting used to it, what do those mean? Right? Think about, if we go back to my driving example, right? Well, I think stop sign people figure out early on in life. But right, like the slippery and wet when wet one, until you started seeing that repeatedly, or in driver's ed, or in that process, it took a while to get used to what those meant, and you had to have something to refer back to. A lot of cases, in some cases, was a parent, right, in terms of driving. But give them a map legend. It also helps you figure out which items I need to get some sort of icon for. Right? Great part with LeaderGuide Pro, all of these icons, these are all customizable, right? right? So if you want to bring in your own branding and have, your own color schemes and, have your, either you do it or your IT department, or if you want to hire us and we do it, you can dial these into your specific look and feel. Or you can dial them in, like you didn't need an audio block as an example, but you wanted one-on-one coaching. You could repurpose blocks into something else. So you have the ability within LeaderGuide Pro to really dial in these actions to the specific needs of your organization, right? Like let's say you did training and it was in the kitchen, right? You were in a restaurant and you needed something like the knife skills block, because every once in a while we were working on different knife skills, so people became better, more efficient in their in their prep, or we have less safety issues of people cutting themselves and now people being out of work. You could customize that and drop that in as a specific content block. So you have all these different options. So that's, in terms of best practices, is, again, I'm going to flip back. Wrong button. Let's come back over here to this other Word document. This one, right? We are looking at, we want to drive actions at a glance, again, so our facilitators can be back up in front of the camera or back up in front of the class. So give the information give them a recognizable icon, consistently use it, right? So if one guidebook you have, you use what look for a say block, like it looks like the cartoon bubble, but in another one it's a quotation marks, and in the third one it's a megaphone or a microphone. The more you use different ones, it loses its benefit, right? If the stop sign wasn't always a red octagonal item, and it was, sometimes it was a triangle, and other times it was a diamond, and the third, it was, a 20-sided shape. It has less meaning because people aren't quite sure what it actually means, and they're spending more time trying to figure out what's that symbol versus, I know that symbol means this, now let me execute. So be consistent in what you use. So I know it's a simple concept. It's like one of those ones. If you want to make lots of money, or, if you want to develop wealth, don't spend more than you make. Right? Simple concept. Sometimes it's the execution of it is harder to do than it's understanding the concept. And that's where we hope our software, you'll take advantage of our software to start making this a lot more simple for you. But what questions do people have about, using visual cues, or how they can harness those to get better instructor-led or better virtual instructor-led training?
I have a question, Pat.
Sure.
You were typing in key letters to get a phrase to come up, like you say something like, or say exactly. Where is there like a list of where those are at, or how do we know what to do to make that happen?
Yes, there is a list, and I'll send that off to everybody. It's in one of our user guides, so I'll get that to you. If you ever want to create your own, and let me pop back over here, and I can show you how to do this. All right, so on the LeaderGuide Pro ribbon, we're harnessing a tool of, something that's in Microsoft Word that's kind of buried, but in the LeaderGuide Pro ribbon, in the controls section, there's this AutoCorrect. We've given it a symbol. It's a box with a lightning bolt coming out of it. If you click on this allows you to go in and create specific items. So when you misspell Tuesday and you type in TEUSDAY and it automatically corrects to the right spelling, this is what this is. But what we'll end up doing is, if you, in this box, if you type in equal sign, we've always put equal sign as our precursor before these so it doesn't get tied into any type of acronyms. You can scroll down and see all the different ones that are in here automatically. And then if you wanted to create your own, right, simple enough, over on the right-hand side of the box, right, let's say this amazing thing. Right, I can type this in, and then I can just create over on the left-hand side. Yeah, like maybe I'll use equal sign SAT. And again, I'm using the equal sign so it's not tied to a word or an acronym and you have things that come up. But then all you have to do is click add. And then you could go in and keep doing other ones, or when you're done, you click OK. But now in my document, I can do equal sign SAT, and it will change over to that amazing thing to say.
That's cool. I like that. That'll save a lot of time.
And then within LeaderGuide Pro, there's a way that you can go in as part of your part of the collection. Again, read collection is series of templates, where one of the collections or one of the templates in there allows you to say whenever this specific content block comes in this one collection. So if a say block comes in, always use this headline. So if I put in the say block, I could have it automatically come in with say something like, because that's the one I use most of the time, right? Because if it's working 90% of the time, let's use that one, and I only have to edit it a few times. Where, when a flip chart comes in, maybe I want it to say flip chart when I'm using my instructor-led collection, but my virtual collection that I'm using when I build out training for Zoom or Teams, my flip chart I want to use whiteboard. Same icon, right? It's the same concept, but we're capturing information on a whiteboard in virtual versus capturing it on a flip chart in the classroom. So there's that way, and I can always show people who want to see that how you do that after the fact. So what other questions for me? All right. So what we're going to do, we actually have a handout about all of this as well. So after this is done and I get the recording all set up, I'll send you an email with a link to the recording, but also with a link to the file, so you get the whole handout on this. And I did say that we were going to be doing a drawing today for 1 free month of access to LeaderGuide Pro. Now, I know we do have some LeaderGuide Pro users in here, so if you guys if in the drawing, if that comes up and you get that, what we would do is give you a month's access to either like the Learning Design tool or to like George or something along those lines. So I'm going to just run the little Excel spreadsheet I have over on the right-hand side to do this based off everyone who's in it. So just give me a moment to do that. And it looks like today, Steve Holm, if I hopefully I pronounce, or Stephen Holm, I pronounced that correctly. You won the drawing. So I will reach out to you and we can set up some time to get the software installed. If you don't have it installed, get you the access to that for the free month. But with that, I know a lot of us are on the East Coast, so we're kind of towards the end of the day, and for those who are more on the westward side, lunch is coming up, so I want to give you time back into the day. But any questions, please reach out. Let me know how I can help you. We are going to be doing another one of these showcase series next Wednesday. We're going to go, I think it's next Wednesday is at 3 o'clock, and we're going to be digging into how to take your facilitator guide from slide, create a facilitator guide directly from your slides. But until then, anybody have any questions, please let me know, and I will see you all soon. All right. Take care, folks.
Thanks a lot, Pat. Always great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.